G'day Bomber fans. We're going very, very early today because we're not even talking about the 2025 draft. We're going to be chatting about the 2026 and even the 2027 draft today because recently our club-tied talent league team, the Calder Cannons, which of course you'd know from, it's the team that Achkar played for, it's who Hussien, Achkar and Adam Sweid play for. They recently fielded a bunch of debutants against the Northern Territory Thunder, many of which are linked to the club through our Next Generation Academy, and of course, one notable father-son who everybody is excited about for the future. I'd also be silly not to update you on the current crop, Hussien and Sweid, the dynamic duo. So yeah, it's just a little draft chat today. I'll show you who you should be excited about for the future, who to familiarise yourself with, so let's get into it. Let's chat the draft. Okay, starting with the one you really want to hear about. So for a while, Essendon fans have been hearing about a young father-son coming through the ranks, Koby Bewick. He is the son of Darren Bewick. So Koby has been really hyped for a while now. His performances as a junior have been eye-catching, according to many. The thing is, we haven't really seen too much of him. But now we're starting to see why that hype is there. The other week he played in an under-16s Vic Metro trial game and was arguably best on ground. He looked phenomenal from the highlights that I saw. He's been playing regularly for Strathmore and starring there. But most recently he made his Calder Cannons debut as a 16-year-old. And that is pretty rare, by the way. Usually it's a good indicator when a player makes their debut as a bottom ager, as a 17-year-old. But as a bottom ager, that shows that there is talent. And Koby Bewick was arguably best on ground against the Northern Territory Thunder on Thursday. Now, I should say they're not the strongest team, the NT Thunder. We rested pretty much all of our best players, the Calder Cannons. Hussien and Adam Sweid didn't play. But for a 16-year-old to boss it around in the midfield, he had 28 disposals, a goal, some terrific passages of play. He really does look like an early star of the 2027 draft. Now, obviously, things can change. He might, decide in the next 2 years that he wants to be an accountant instead. Who knows what's going to happen? The draft is 2 years away. But at the time of recording, there really aren't many kids who are as hyped for that 2027 draft as Koby Bewick. And that draft, by the way, is really important because that is when Tasmania enter and really mess up the order. They're going to make the first round a minefield to navigate for other clubs. It's going to be a compromised draft. It really isn't worth having a first round pick in a compromised draft like that. But if Essendon were to have a father-son link in Koby Bewick, someone that they know that they can have in the draft, potentially at an early stage in the draft, if he continues to be as promising as he is, that would be more than a bonus. It would be a gift from the footy gods. So obviously we can't go too early and get too hyped about something happening in 2 years. But yeah, I watched a replay of the Calder game and it was just awesome to see this kid go about it. He's very quick, he's hyper aware, really clever, both by hand and foot, works super hard. There were times that he was the last man in defence to help clear the lines. I like his run. He's got that funny run where his arms move more than his shoulders do, and so it's easy to place him on the field. No, I loved watching him. For a kid this young to come in and have a real impact like he did, it doesn't matter the opponent. We're going to be hearing about his name a lot from now on. And I'm sure he's going to feature heavily in the under-16 champs conversation too for Vic Metro. So yeah, get ready to hear about him lots and lots in the next couple of years. This is probably the most exciting draft prospect we've seen come through the ranks, linked to us this early in quite some time. Very exciting stuff. Okay, Blake Justice. Now, if you guys know me and if you follow me on Twitter, you'd know that I like this guy a fair bit. He's a bottom ager for next year's draft, so he's part of our NGA, our Next Generation Academy, same deal as Isaac Kako. We would be able to match a bid on him whenever, and that's the same with pretty much everyone in the rest of this video. So Justice actually made his debut the game before this against the Northern Knights. He's a 190cm forward, similar build to someone like Tom Edwards, quite tall but very lanky. That's of course due to age a bit, but also I think he isn't really a marking target, I'd say. He's more of that ground level player, which is interesting given his size, but he's super creative, really classy. He knows his way around the sticks, and whenever I've seen him play, he has been involved and dangerous in the forward 50. He kicked 2 goals 1 on his Talent League debut, kicked 1 goal 2 in the recent Northern Territory game as well. So as a bottom major, he's getting looks at goals, and he's actually involved in that as that link as well. He racked up 20 touches and 5 inside 50s on Thursday. He also, by the way, had a kick after the siren against the Northern Knights to tie the game, but missed. So to see him have that moment as a young kid and then bounce back the next week was pretty cool. I liked that because I know myself at that age, I would have just crumbled and probably given up the sport and taken up accounting. Justice does also have some experience against big bodies, having played and starred for Greenvale in the EDFL. He was named amongst their best and then thrown into the Cannons team for his debut the next week. It's not a great standard of footy, I guess, the EDFL compared to state leagues, but at least he's playing against big bodies. But yeah, any time a player features early in the season as a bottom major, you should probably at least keep their name in your memory. And luckily, he's got a pretty epic name, so that's easy to do. But I think it's even more impressive when he's making his debut against a team like the Knights and not like the Thunder, because everyone was rested again in that Northern Territory game. But Justice really just broke into the team through form. And I think he's probably going to stay in the team for plenty of this year. I was told by someone at the Cannons that he can play wing too. I've only really seen him as a forward. But yeah, it means he's got versatility. I think this guy's going to develop well, to be honest. I'm pretty excited for him. Hopefully he keeps his spot for the next game against Bendigo, because I'll be watching that. But yeah, I'm really liking what I'm seeing early from our most promising bottom major for next year's draft. Someone else I just want to touch on individually as well from Thursday night. So he made his debut for the Cannons against Northern Territory. He is a wingman. His name is Jad Naim. He's the brother of Amin, who was a member of our academy a couple of years back. I think he played VFL for Essendon too, Amin. And I don't think he was that far off being drafted. I think he would have been on draft boards, but just down the bottom end, and unfortunately just missed out in the end. But Jad is he's a smaller wingman. Well, not small, but 183 centimetres. I think maybe it's his style of play that makes him seem a bit smaller than he is, because he's very evasive, and his work in traffic is really exciting. That is what caught me by surprise a bit, and it's what made me jot his name down. He does his best work in close and personal, even though he's not, he's very skinny. Not much physicality at all, but I mean, it's a good weakness to have, especially when you're quick on the outside like he is, very evasive, lovely movement of his hips. His leg speed I really noticed in one play in the first quarter, where he drove out of a stoppage out the back and drilled a pass across his body inside 50. It was lovely, and that is where I thought, okay, maybe this guy is someone I probably need to think about a little bit more for next year. So I started looking out for him, number 13, and more on that coverage side wing. And yeah, he looked good. He only had the 15 touches, but I feel like he was probably one of the better players that I noticed on the night. Maybe that's because I was looking out for him. But yeah, he looked good. He's pretty versatile as well. I was told before the year started that he can play as a small forward. I didn't see it much on the night. He was pretty much primarily wing, I believe, but that option is there. Not that we really need it at Essendon. Some of his defensive work I thought was pretty impressive, so I'm sure he could fit in down back as well. But yeah, he's a very eye-catching player, someone I hadn't noticed too much until I actually saw him play. But yeah, I'll have to keep an eye on him as the year goes on. Now, some others from Thursday night, because there were actually more linked to the Bombers in this Northern Territory game. Before I touch on Hussien and Sweid, because I'll talk about them at the end. Cohen McGrath, he is eligible for next year's draft. He's in our academy. He's another versatile player. I saw him in defence, I think, for parts of the game, which I didn't think was his position. I thought he was a winger or a forward, but he's a nice looking player. He's a good left foot kick. One of the more skilled players here, I'd say. He finished with 14 touches, mostly kicks, did some nice things. Olu Olalekin is a strong defender with bleached blonde hair. This is where height is really deceiving, by the way, because he is the same height as Jad Naim, 183 centimetres, but I mean, if you watched on Thursday, you wouldn't think that's the case, because he just looks imposing and big for his age. I think he was almost a key defender of sorts at times on Thursday, or at least he was playing on a key forward at one stage. He isn't the most skilled of players. I think he'd probably need to work on his kicking next year, and I think he will. But he's very athletic. He's got a great attack on the ball, got a good foundation to leap from. Hits the ball with real pace, by the way. He's not someone you want to go up against in a one-on-one. That would be scary. I see him being developed as a lockdown defender, I reckon. He only got the 7 touches, but did some nice things in defence. Elijah Davey, so he's eligible for this year's draft. He is the son of Alwyn, the brother of Alwyn Jr. and Jaden. He did play on Thursday for Northern Territory. He also plays for Oakley Chargers as well. He wasn't too busy. 7 touches, no score. The ball wasn't really down there heaps, so not heaps to say about his game. Northern Territory scored 4 goals for the match. But yeah, he's very fast. He's probably quicker than his brothers. And yeah, those 3 Again, linked to Essendon. Elijah this year. Cohen and Olu next year. And finally, just a quick update on our academy boys this year, because, yeah, obviously we're very hyped about these guys. So Hussien, Achkar, and Adam Sweid, if you don't know about them, you're living under a rock. They're linked to our club for this year's draft through the Next Generation Academy. They didn't play on Thursday. They were rested along with, other stars for the Cannons, Cooper, Duff, Tytler. So we're starting to get an idea as to where they could go in this year's draft, though, which is good. Still far from concrete. Champs will really tell us a lot. But after a few games in the Talent League and trials for Vic Metro, we've seen what they can both do. Hussien is obviously he's that Isaac Rankin type forward. He really broke onto the scene last year as a bottom ager. So that's why it's important to talk about these bottom agers like Blake Justice. I think he kicked 5 goals in a game last year, and so far this year he's been super dangerous. He's pretty wasteful, but that's fine at this age. You almost, he's getting chances each game. You almost want him to be wasteful because it probably reduces his draft value a bit, if anything. And the fact that he's getting those chances is what impresses me so much. He's one that I could see forming a good partnership with Isaac Kako if he's drafted to Essendon, which, he probably should be. He is at the moment kind of around that 20 to 30 range, I'd say most people would probably say. Things can obviously change quite a bit, and they will change. I don't think he'll be as high as a Kako bid last year, which would be handy because it would mean he won't get eaten up, or points won't get eaten up, which means we can use those first rounders. As for Adam Sweid, he really bolted up draft orders because he hasn't played in a long time. He had a knee reconstruction in 2023 and was out all of last year, which meant this is the first time he's played in 2 years, and we really didn't know much about him. But yeah, I was told to keep an eye on him before the season started, and this year he's been a star through the midfield. He's a much smaller midfielder, so he's probably going to be a small forward early in the AFL. He's also around that 20 to 30 to 40 range. It's tougher to find a range for him just because he's played less games than everyone else. Some have him higher than Hussien, in fact. But yeah, I don't think he'd be high enough to be worried about a bid being matched early. These kids are in a great range for us, I think, the way it's shaping up. It means we would probably, the way, at the time of filming, it's looking like we can probably use both first rounders that we have and then match bids on both these kids. So there's a world where we actually walk away with 4 first rounders depending on when these kids are bidded on. That it might be late first round because it's, the way it's shaping up, it's going to be a very compromised first round where there's lots of bids. But yeah, we'll find out more about them in the coming weeks. They'll both play for Vic Metro and Champs. They actually both played really well in recent trial matches. Sweid in particular is in great form right now. He had a little injury but has returned well. So yeah, not going to talk about them heaps. I'll probably end up making profile videos at some stage. But yeah, just a quick update on them for you. I'll bring more info as it comes. But yeah, both these kids look good. Really exciting time to be a Bomber fan because we've got so much talent coming through the draft and so many high draft picks as well. We're actually stacked for this upcoming off-season, which is great. You just love to see that. Of course, by the way, there is no guarantee that we draft these two or any of these players. Yes, they're linked to our academy, but that doesn't mean we're going to draft them. But it would be odd if we didn't. So yeah, that is that. Just a cheeky little draft chat. Cheers for watching. Hopefully you've got a few more names to jot down and keep an eye on in the coming years. But that is that. That's all. Like, subscribe, and go Bombers.